Hello again. This time I want to talk to you about a really cool method for getting perfect skin tones in your videos. And this method works no matter what your ethnic skin color might be. It works very simply, it gets it right every time. You may want to use this because you have made a mistake when you were shooting and used the wrong color balance when you were shooting the video in the first place, and you need to make some corrections. Sometimes it's easy to make overall corrections to get the background right, but getting the skin tones perfect can be a bit of a challenge. Or it may be that you have applied a LUT or a look or some kind of color effect overall to your video, but you don't want that to affect the skin tones. So using this simple method will help you get it right every time. So let's get on and do it. I have a short clip on the timeline that was shot earlier at my desk, and we're going to use this to show how you can correct the skin tones fairly easily and quickly using Lumetri scopes. Now the clip is not far off in terms of skin tone, but it's not perfect. It's a little bit reddish, and I'm going to show how we can correct that. So the first thing that we want to do is set the exposure. Always set your exposure levels first of all before you start doing any color correcting, because changing the exposure can change the saturation to a certain degree and affect the colors. So in this case I'm not going to go into detail. I'm just going to click on auto in order to set the levels to what they really ought to be. And now we're going to work on the skin tones. I'm using Lumetri scopes to do this skin tone work because our eyes are unreliable in terms of color balance, and our monitors may not be calibrated perfectly, and the ambient colors around us can affect how we see colors. So doing it in this more precise and scientific way will guarantee that you do have correct skin tones. Now I need to say something else as well, and that is that this technique works no matter what your skin color is. Effectively, they're all the same in terms of tone. There are differences in terms of lightness and contrast and other aspects like that, but the tone of our skin, no matter what our ethnicity is actually the same. So this technique will work for skin of any color. So let's see how to do it. So we want to work just on the skin tones only, and I want to exclude everything else in terms of color from the image. So the best way to do that is go to opacity and click on the elliptical mask, and it will put a basic elliptical mask onto your clip, and you can set that so that really all you see are the skin tones, and it excludes all the other color information that may be in that clip. So that's step number one. Step number two is going to be for me to add an adjustment layer to the clip. So I'm going to do that. There's nothing in this adjustment layer at the moment, but all the Lumetri color adjustments I want to put into this adjustment layer so that we could apply it to a number of different clips if we need to. I'm then going to go to Lumetri scopes. I'm going to choose the scope that is called Vectorscope YUV. Now please don't ask me what YUV stands for. It seems to be a broadcast standard, and the letters don't translate one for one into anything else that is meaningful to me at any rate. I do pick these from the presets because I don't want to add them to the panel. I want to exclude the waveform RGB and replace it with YUV. So there we have the YUV Vectorscope. Now to explain how this is, it's a color wheel, and it starts at red, goes to magenta, blue, cyan, green and yellow. The saturation of the color is displayed by how far you move away from the center point, and the color itself is where it is on the 360 degree line around here. You'll see that there is a diagonal line on this, and this line from the center up to the top left is the skin tone line. It's somewhere between yellow and red, and getting colors onto this line means you're getting perfect skin tone. So to do that, I'm going to go to my color workspace, and I'm going to go back to Lumetri scopes, to the vector YUV, and we're going to work in the area of curves. We've already done a basic correction on this, but it's on the clip itself. You can see that there. Going back to the adjustment layer, we're going to move down to the area of curves. I'm interested in the hue versus hue curves because that's where you can adjust where a particular color is going to move to. So I'm going to click on the little eyedropper tool and pick a basic color here, and you can see that we have 3 dots here. These are the extent on either side, and this is the precise color itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Shift so that this only moves in one direction, and I'm going to move it vertically, and you can see as soon as I start to move it, there is a color line that's there that tells you what direction you're moving it. We actually want to move it a little bit away from magenta and towards red, and if you look at the Vectorscope, you'll see that that line is moving onto the skin line. That hasn't corrected the entire image. Just going to take the eyedropper tool again and pick another area and click around here because it looks a little bit purpley, and you'll see that it has now created another line here, and I'm going to take the points between this endpoint and the area that we have adjusted, and I'm going to adjust them again a little bit to see if we can move those colors onto the skin tone line. So just click on this, hold down Shift and move it a little bit towards red, and you can see that that is moving nicely towards the skin tone line. I'm going to move this final one, and that brings that one round a bit onto towards the skin tone line as well. Now there are some other colors that are in here. There are the color of my lips, the color of my eyes, and so on. I'm not going to try to get absolutely everything onto the line. If you masked it so that you only had an area of skin, then you would expect to be able to get everything onto that line. But what I've done, I think here is close enough. I think this is a little bit strange that this point is left out, so I'm just going to check what it does when I move that slightly. And yes, that does move that point slightly more onto the skin tone line. So I think I've probably done it fairly well now. Just going to go back onto Effect Controls, going to go back onto the clip itself, and going to disable opacity so that it brings back the image in total, and you can see that we've done it pretty well. There is an area, a couple of areas that I haven't dealt with, and I think the best thing to do is to deal with those with another Lumetri color adjustment onto them, just so that we pick up those colors as well. But you can see now as I play this clip, I've deliberately shot this clip with it, you can see that the skin tone is pretty much back to the way that it ought to be, with some minor corrections still to do. So I could do those now if we wanted to. Just go back to the adjustment layer. I could take the eyedropper tool. I could go to this area, and I think we probably need to move one of these. You can see there by moving that and that I've completely eliminated that little patch that had the wrong color in it. We could also do the same for this little patch that is just here, and I think that's going to be around here. You can just drag that down slightly and drag that one down slightly, and you can see that we've completely corrected the whole image. So looking at the before and looking at the after within the adjustment layer, that is pretty much the correct skin tone in this situation. Now, the effect that you want to create may be slightly different from perfect skin tone, so you may want to just warm it up a little bit. It's up to you as to what your preference may be on that one, and that would be the adjustment that I would go with that represents my skin tone, I think, fairly perfectly. So I hope you find that useful. It's a precise way of doing it. It works on absolutely anyone in any situation, and it gives you skin tone that is accurate and eliminates any subjectivity that there may be because you're editing in an environment of a particular color or your monitor is not calibrated perfectly. But the end result is you've got something that's as near to perfect as you can get. So if you find that useful, then please add a like to this video. It really helps me and my channel to get more views and get out to more people. So if you've enjoyed this video and benefited from it, then please subscribe to my channel. Hit the bell and you'll be notified of the new videos as they're uploaded. I'm going to post a new video each week covering Premiere Pro, After Effects, Audition, Photoshop and Lightroom. So if you're interested in learning about these projects, then please subscribe to this channel and hit the bell and get a new video every week.